UFC 317 just wrapped up, and it was an amazing card, honestly. Even though the main card had mainly decisions, the fights really did deliver, and the prelims were excellent too. So I'm just going to be giving my reaction to the main card, fight by fight. So let's start with the main event. Ilia versus Charles Oliveira. Oh my god. So I picked Charles Oliveira by early rounds finish, and I was mostly confident in my pick. I understood that Ilia presented the danger, but my god. So the fight starts, and it's a typical Oliveira fight. They're both just swinging. It's similar to the Gaethje fight. Eventually, Ilia starts to land a lot of jabs and left hooks. He cuts Oliveira open. Oliveira's taking the shots on the guard well, but he is clearly cut open. Oliveira then goes for, a body lock takedown. Ilia defends it really well and reverses the position. As the noticeably smaller man, he is still able to defend and end up on top, which is very, very impressive. Then he passes Charles's guard, which is an incredible thing to do. Usually, we've only really seen it passed by an Islam Makhachev when Charles was rocked. Ilia was able to do this in the first round. No sweat, no nothing. His grappling is every bit as good as he says it is. Absolutely, by far. Oliveira then went to roll for a heel hook, and he was in a good position for a heel hook. He was doing really well attacking for submissions. He was putting Ilia in danger on the ground, and Ilia was able to roll and defend out of it really, really well. Ilia showed that he can grapple with the very, very best. Then they get back up to the feet. Oliveira lands a decent uppercut. He starts, landing front kicks. Ilia lands some punches on the guard. The fight's going how I want it, or how I thought it would. And eventually Joe says, there's a noticeable difference in how, Charles is taking these shots compared to the featherweights that Ilia's fought. Then, right after Joe Rogan says this, they both throw right hands. Ilia, jab, throws another jab, moves back. Charles throws that long right hand coming forward, drops his left hand down, leaves his head on the center line. Ilia steps off to the side with a right hook as Charles's hand is down, colds him with one punch. Ilia goes for follow-up left hook, hits him on the way down. Charles was immediately out. We've seen Charles rocked, dropped, finished, submitted, everything, but never out cold. Never like that. Not from one punch. That is insane. Charles was taking the punches really, really well, but my god, was that horrific to see. Ilia literally just matadored Oliveira really, really well, and Oliveira was in an interesting position in this fight because he showed a lot more of a defensive and calculated style against Chandler, but I didn't think he could approach the fight with Ilia like that because Ilia is very good at building reads over time. And I thought that giving, Topuria 25 minutes to land those shots on Charles wasn't going to be good. I thought Charles had to come out and go balls to the walls, similar to the Gaethje and Poirier fight, where he had to just be all the way in, all the way out, and just really, really do as much damage as he can in a short amount of time. And he was attempting to do that, but Ilia's power carried up to lightweight, and it is insane. He is much, much more powerful at lightweight than he is at featherweight, and that is a terrifying thing because Charles can take a damn punch. It's really, really impressive. And, Ilia looked good. He was taking, the kicks from Oliveira on the guard. He was, just doing his thing. And eventually he was calm and got the knockout. Ilia is an absolute anomaly in the sport of mixed martial arts. Truly. You KO Alexander Volkanovski, okay, he was coming off the head kick, lost to Makhachev. You knock out Max Holloway. That's insane. And then you move up a weight class to fight one of the most difficult stylistic matchups. And you knock Oliveira out with one punch in about 2 minutes. Ilia is him. Simple as that. And, before the fight, I wasn't very confident in his ability to beat Makhachev. I really wasn't. Do I think he beats Makhachev now? Maybe. I can't say for sure that he does, but I feel like that fight is so much more interesting now. And I'm really, really excited to see the future of his reign at lightweight. As for the next matchup, they brought in Paddy Pimblett for face-off because Joe Rogan wanted it. Dana said absolutely not. That was a terrible idea, so I don't think he's going to get it. It's between Gaethje and Arman, and to be honest, Dana does not seem interested in Gaethje fighting for the title. So what they're probably going to do is they're either going to match up Gaethje, Arman, or Paddy in any sort of order, throw Dan Hooker in there with one of them, and whoever wins comes out on top will get the next shot. But I really would love to see Ilia in the cage before the end of the year, even if it is December. I'd love that. But yeah, with the face-off, Paddy's huge, but you know, I'm not going to pick against Topuria again for a very, very long time. And watch Paddy Pimblett go and flying triangle Topuria as soon as I pick Topuria. But yeah, I'm just very, very impressed. Arman could present some problems in the wrestling, but I saw the way that Ilia defended, you know, the body lock from Charles, and that knockout power is just something else. It really is. Arman can be hit, he can be caught. Gaethje will get slumped, right? There's not a lot of people that I think that could really go shot for shot with Ilia Topuria. Even like a Poirier. It's... I don't know what... If you're at 155, you must be absolutely horrified. This division has had such scary champions for years and years. It's really insane. So, moving on to the co-main event, Kai Kara-France versus Alexander Pantosia. Pantosia submits Kai in round 3. Kai, he had some interesting things to present in this matchup, but it was really a title fight that was undeserved and a bit overlooked, right? He came off a knockout over Erceg, and then before that he had 2 losses to Arbazi and Moreno. It was a bit, you know, it was kind of a gimme fight for Pantosia in a way. And Kai did good, you know, in the first round. He just survived, right? Pantosia just blitzed forward, throwing lots of combinations. Kai was trying to back up and jab and be measured. But then, you know, Pantosia eventually just overwhelmed Kai enough to where, okay, Pantosia shoots in on the legs, gets the takedown. Kai was trying to, you know, fight the grip on the back. Pantosia just sagged onto his butt, kicked out the leg, had Kai on the floor. Kai was doing a good job at rolling to the side of the body triangle. He was doing the right things, but he wasn't able to get up. Pantosia is just so crafty at transitioning through positions, and just he has so many tricks up his sleeve in the jiu-jitsu department that every time Kai did, you know, the right thing to try and get up or try and have a better position, Pantosia was just on it and he switched to the next thing. Then in the second round, right, comes out, gets a takedown again, Kai is able to defend it. Pantosia looks a bit slower, right? Kai's, you know, landing some shots. Pantosia's still out striking him and still being very aggressive, but Kai's noticeably doing a lot better in the round. Then in the third round, Pantosia literally just blitzes at him and then almost like falling over like a DDP style takedown, trips out his leg, gets Kai to the ground, gets the back. Now, Kai was rolling from side to side when Pantosia had that body triangle. That's because you want to have the lock of the body triangle on the ground if you're trying to escape it. Thing is, Pantosia had his back near the cage, so Kai wasn't able to turn that body lock to the floor because it would have hit the cage. Eventually, Pantosia was just able to get his hands onto the neck as soon as Kai slipped up and stopped fighting the hands. And Kai kept on constantly peeling away the hand. There was about 6 times where he pulled the hand away, but Pantosia just kept on getting that grip back, just over and over, and eventually Kai tapped out. Very, very impressive win for Pantosia. You know, a decently interesting challenger in Kai Kara-France, but Pantosia is just collecting scalps at this point. And he's making improvements as a champion, you know, late in his career at the age of 35. And to do this at the, you know, lighter weight classes in a division that is as, you know, blooming as flyweight is really, really impressive. And the next matchup for him clearly is Joshua Van. They faced off in the octagon. The UFC likes that fight. Everyone's going to want that fight. But yeah, speaking of the devil, Joshua Van versus Brandon Royval. Oh my god, what an incredible fight. Van wins by decision 229-28, it's 130-27. So I picked Royval to win this fight. I thought he was going to win it by like a late rounds knockout. And I I didn't really like the way Royval approached this fight, but I'm not going to take away from Joshua Van. Joshua Van is 23 years old. He has fought, I think, 4 times in the last 6 months. He has insane activity. He's 23 years old. He's only been training for 5 years. He has incredible boxing skills, solid takedown defense, and the heart of a champion. And to fight the #1 contender on 3 weeks' notice with apparently a broken toe and pass that test with flying colors is incredible. And Brandon Royval is such a tricky dude to fight. He puts so much volume on you. He is so long, so rangy. He's incredibly tough. He's incredibly crafty. He can be really, really deadly when he wants to be. He just presents so many challenges that I really thought Van would get caught by, and he didn't. He was constantly, and I mean constantly, throwing. These guys didn't. There was not a moment in this fight where they were not throwing punches at each other. Right? This was one of the best fights of the year, and please go and rewatch it. It is amazing. So first round starts, and Royval's putting up an incredible amount of volume. Nothing with any power behind it at all, actually. Really just flicking things out. He's jabs, 1-2s, sort of slapping hooks around the guard, going for like an outside leg kick as well. And DC said on commentary that it's almost like Royval's throwing so that Van isn't, right? And that was exactly the case. It's just putting something out there so his opponent couldn't. But the thing with Royval is when he plays that volume game, his jab is incredibly, incredibly sloppy. It's terrible, actually. It's really non-fundamental and non-technical. He just puts it out there. And eventually, Joshua Van was able to find that left hook over the top of that jab as they were opposite stance. And he, chained that together into a right hand where he'd almost throw it like upwards. Like it was a really weird type of right hand. But against such a tall opponent, you have to kind of throw it like that. And there was nothing that Royval could really put out there that would stop Van in his tracks. He was throwing some good, body kicks, inside leg kicks, landed a good knee here and there, but Royval really didn't put out, like, the deadly techniques that I expected him to. He didn't really use that many elbows, he didn't really use that many knees, high kicks, that sort of thing, spinning attacks, that I really thought he needed to use for this fight. And Joshua Van, did what he needed to do, was just throwing a combination, ripping to the body when Royval wanted to get really close, and doing the right things. In the second round, it was much more of the same, but Royval toned down the volume a bit and was able to, when Van cracked him, immediately follow up with punches. And he put a little bit more sting and, power behind them, and he had a lot of success pushing Van back as Van just, after the exchange, pull back like, okay, your turn, and Royval would immediately take that opportunity and end up winning the second round. It was very close, though. And then in the third round, much more of the same. They're just swinging. It was incredible to watch. And it's I think it's 50-50 in that round. And then towards the end of the round, Van realizes, oh, this dude has a really wide stance. Let me just stomp on his knee. And Royval was literally falling over when Van was stomping the knee. And then in the last 10 seconds, they're throwing. Van, left hook, right hand over the top as Royval's walking forward. Drops Royval really, really badly. Last 10 seconds, solidifies the win for himself. Incredible fight. Credit to Royval, credit to Van. Amazing, amazing fight. I believe Royval got his win money as well, so that's good news to hear. And then Van, right to it, sitting in the crowd watching Pantosia and Kai fight. What's next from Pantosia? Obviously, do I think he beats Pantosia? No, I don't. Sadly. It's an incredible matchup and I really like it, but the thing is, you can do the right things in the grappling and you can look good in the grappling, but Pantosia is such a dynamic jiu-jitsu threat and he has so many different tricks that Van is just simply going to have never seen in his entire life. And he's going to do good for a little bit, but then eventually Pantosia is just going to have something that Van hasn't seen and he's going to get caught off guard by it. And he's going to get taken down. I can see them getting into a brawling exchange. Pantosia's walking forward, Van's throwing, trying to counter him, and then Pantosia just shoots under for a takedown, gets it. Eventually, Van defends decently well, but then, Pantosia does this thing and chokes him out. I think that's how that fight would go, but I'd still love to see it because Joshua Van's supremacy. I'm sorry for ever doubting you. Now, next fight down the card, Renato Moicano versus Beneil Dariush. I thought Moicano was going to win this. He looked really good in his win streak up until he fought Makhachev. And Beneil Dariush coming off of 2 really bad knockout losses, lots of injuries. You know, you'd be kind of a fool to pick Dariush to win, you know, a fight ranked at lightweight against, you know, a decently respectable name in Renato Moicano. But Dariush was just, he was on, he was locked in. He really, really was. He was landing great inside leg kicks, you know, flooring Moicano with them, landing good body kicks. That body, as Moicano keeps a high guard, he's very tall, lightweight, so that body kick was definitely there. He was mixing the high kick, he was landing some good left hands. And Moicano was kind of watching and waiting. He couldn't really get a read on Dariush. He had a lot of trouble landing that jab that he likes so much. And Moicano just didn't have any answers until he caught Dariush sort of trying to pull away from him. And when you pull away against a longer fighter, it's kind of risky because they can just cover that distance and clip you while you're pulling back. Drops Dariush bad at the end of the round. Moicano goes to try and get the back and try to submit maybe, but Dariush is able to buy some time and the round ends. And then Dariush really puts the pressure on in the grappling in the second and third round, really, really hard, just cycling through, similar to Gamrot, just cycling through positions really, really well, getting on the back of Moicano, just doing great. And then in the third round, Moicano's gassed. He can't really do much, and on the feet, there's no steam in his punches, and Dariush eventually gets the victory. And, you know, it sucks for Moicano. I love Moicano. I don't know what was up with him in this fight. All credit to Beneil at, you know, his age, with, you know, the losses he was coming off of at this point in his career, for him to get a win over, you know, a top 15 lightweight and a name like Moicano was incredibly impressive. Moicano did look off in this fight, and I'm interested as to why, but I'm not really sure where he goes next. It's a bit disappointing performance from Moicano, but very impressive from Beneil. It's very wholesome from that. And then the first fight on the main card is Peyton Talbot versus Felipe Lima. A lot of people picking Lima. A lot of people. And to be fair, I did think Lima was going to win as well. This fight, for the most part, was pretty competitive. Lima was doing really a lot better than we thought on the feet. Talbot was doing a lot better than we thought on the ground, except Talbot knew he was doing good on the ground. Felipe didn't believe himself in the feet. Even though he's good, doing good, landing good shots, believing in the numbers, he straight up said to his corner, I'm scared of the power. Right? So he wouldn't commit enough on the feet, even though he could. And in the grappling exchanges, Lima was chasing, and I mean desperately chasing for takedowns. And Talbot would either defend or he'd scramble with them really well and get top position, land some good ground and pound shots, hold position well, just do the right things, score points over time. He really looked a lot more matured. And the commentary team was really surprised because these are significant improvements. Felipe Lima is a very promising prospect, and Talbot just shut him down in the grappling. And I think that because Talbot is so young, he's only 26 years old, he can make those kinds of improvements very, very quickly, and they're very, very meaningful at that age. And he did exactly that. He spent 6 months working on his jiu-jitsu, working on his grappling, working on his get-ups, his reversals, his scrambles, and he did it excellently. As for what's next for him, Adrian Yanez, book it. Does he win that matchup? I don't know. Maybe. Talbot keeps his head on the center line, and he is susceptible to getting hit, but, you know, Yanez has a sort of similar issue where, with how he throws his punches, he's susceptible to the leg kick as well. But that's a great matchup. That's a banger matchup. You put that as a co-main event of a fight night, or like prelim headliner, or even on the main card of a pay-per-view, that's going to light the place up really, really well. And I'm pretty impressed with Talbot. That's how you want to bounce back from a loss. That is the perfect way to bounce back. So, anyway, guys, UFC 317 was an amazing card. Very, very impressed by it. If you haven't watched the fights, go back and watch them. They're great. UFC 318 is nowhere near as good. It is actually abysmal. They've got Dan Ige versus Patricio Pitbull as the co-main event. So, yeah. Anyway, guys, let me know your thoughts on the whole card in general, and I'll see you later.